What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So as y'all know, I did end up making that video not too long ago going over pretty much the entire vision of the Crew franchise. And when I was doing that video, I thought about something else. With all that being said, with how the entire game basically evolved into Motorfest from the Crew 1, I was also thinking that maybe the next Crew game, if there is going to be one, I would like to guess that there is probably going to be another one, am I right? Should probably go back to its roots. Now, you're probably wondering exactly what I mean by this. Well, to be honest, the first thing I'm going to say what I mean by going back to its roots is, well, probably going to be the map side of it. Now, there is going to be other parts of the entire quote-unquote route thing I'm going to go over, but let's first start here with where the map would end up being in the next game if it was going to be a thing, or at least going back to the roots of the massive map the Crew 1 and the Crew 2 did end up having. Now, we all do know right now that Motorfest is going to be a lot smaller than the Crew 1 and the Crew 2, but a lot of players kind of want to go back to a bigger map if the next game is actually a thing. For this, I would probably say the big question is, where is the new map going to be? Is it going to be the US again? To be honest, I feel like they're probably not going to go back to the US map, and if they did, well, I wonder what they would end up doing with it. The thing is, a lot of players are like, well, why can't we get something like Germany or even Tokyo or something? Imagine a gigantic map in one of those locations, man. That would be so dang insane. And maybe they might end up doing that to really mix up everything. I do know some people are saying Canada and stuff, but again, who really knows if that's going to be a thing or any of these other maps for that matter. But the biggest thing, though, is probably going back to the roots of having a huge map that really sets the game apart and makes it so dang unique. We all do know the Crew 1 and the Crew 2 had one of the best maps ever. Sure, you could go in there and step in and say the graphics aren't that great. There's going to be copy and pasted things in certain areas. There's going to be trees floating. But you know what? The map is so dang massive that, well, you kind of got to give credit where it is due and also kind of be like, okay, well, there's going to be a few glitches, a few buildings here and there that are going to be the same. That is fine because I can drive legitimately everywhere. If I want to drive up to Maine, I can. If I want to go back to Miami, I can if I want. If I want to go all the way over to Las Vegas, I can. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of different locations. You can drive around for hours on end. Basically always going to different locations with your friends or solo. And along the way, you might even end up picking up some people with you, them following you or something, or you're going to be following them. I did end up having that happen with me a bit, where my friend and I were doing some road trips and all that. We'd meet somebody, and they would legit follow us for probably 15, 20 minutes, and we would end up having a small squad for someone we randomly met. And that was always going to be a cool experience in the Crew 2 or even the Crew 1 because you'd meet someone random. They might like motorcycles, race cars or something. They might even like rallycross vehicles or some, but they pick a vehicle, you all drive together, and you can end up ending somewhere else on the other side of the map and go, okay, well, where are we going to go next? Put the waypoint on and basically head over there. So I'm going to guess right now and say the next Crew game is probably going to have a massive map, and I'm wondering where it really is going to be. Where would y'all like to see the next Crew game located? I would say people are probably going to say like the Germany side, maybe Tokyo or something. I would say something like that would be absolutely insane. But with that being said though, I would also be really shocked if they would end up going back to the US map or something in the next Crew game because I feel like a lot of players have played that map a lot. They did end up enjoying it, but maybe it's time for something different. Now, speaking of the entire going back to the roots part of it, the next thing I did want to talk about also has to do with the Crew 1. This is probably going to sound a bit dumb, but I feel like a lot of people are probably going to agree with it, and that is down to the fact of having a storyline in the next game. Now, I do know a lot of people might not like the storyline in the Crew 1 and stuff, but I gotta say it, I did end up enjoying it. And in fact, it kind of gives you like a reason to play through the game. You probably feel connected to it. Going through like the cutscenes and seeing what's going to happen to Alex, I think his name was in the game. It has been a minute, man, because, you know, we can't go back in and try out the campaign again. Because if we could, I would probably go through and play the game from the beginning, just to go through that again and really check everything out. But I feel like having a storyline in a game really gives you a chance to connect with it, enjoy it, and also go, okay, so what I'm racing for has like a meaning here or something. You can kind of connect to some of the characters, whether it's going to be like a personal level, or maybe just something that's going on in the game that you really can't connect with. And with all of that being said, though, I am going to go over a brief thing about the story here in the Crew 1. I would say people are probably not going to want to watch this part if you don't want to have it spoiled or have like a general idea of what it's about. But then again, though, there is currently not going to be a way to play through it anyway, so Can't really miss much there, but either way though, it is going to be about Alex Taylor who seeks revenge for the murder of his brother Dayton. The first part is Alex is going to be pursued by police near Detroit. He then loses the police, finds a car from his friend Harry. While at the bridge, Dayton is shot and killed by the driver of a sports car. Alex is then going to be charged and convicted of murder. While in prison, Alex meets FBI agent Zoe Winters, or I guess you could say Zoe. Either way though, the next part, Winter tells Alex that he can be temporarily released if he helps the FBI expose the corruption and find Dayton's killer. Right there alone, I gotta admit, even reading that small part on Google, I want to legit play the game and find out what happens. And you know what though, the insane part to me is I legit want to play the game right now and really go through the story and see what happens again. It has legit been probably around 10 years since I probably played the story of the game, and just from reading that, I legit want to play it because I'm already slightly connected to it, wondering what happened to Alex's brother. Like, I want to see what happens. He did end up getting framed. I want to see him clear his name and stuff. And I really think a lot of players would also want to find out and see what happens with it. Some of the other details with that, though, is the game's going to take place in various areas, including country roads, snowy mountains, and also canyons. So it's going to take you around different parts of the map, going over the story and stuff, having cutscenes, and also trying to explain the story of how Alex did end up clearing his name from his brother Dayton being killed and or shot. That really is crazy, man. Like, I legit want to play this game right now. Here's the insane part to me, though, bro. Let's also backtrack a bit, or I guess you could say fast forward a bit. That was going to be the story of the Crew 1, which a lot of people loved it. I even have noticed people talking about it to this day, and they want to play it again, or they also miss the story aspects of the Crew 1. Here's the crazy part, though. If we fast forward, look at Motorfest, type this in on Google, and it will legit read the Crew Motorfest, a video game that focuses on car culture, festival, and collecting and developing a vehicle collection. The game's story is centered around participating in a festival and not being limited to a single vehicle. Ha! What? Like, that seriously is going to be the Crew Motorfest story on Google. That is what it's legit going to say, man. And when looking at this, though, you're probably going to notice that, yeah, it's going to be a festival type of thing. You collect vehicles, and that's basically it. So, serious question here, everybody. When you are looking at the Motorfest story being like the culture festival, collecting vehicles and stuff like that, heading into the playlist, and that is basically it. Or you can look at something like the Crew 1 going over an entire storyline to where Alex is going to get revenge on the murder of his brother. Which one would you rather play and go through an entire storyline to see what does end up finding out? I feel like a lot more players are probably going to be connected to the Crew 1, whereas if you're looking at something like Motorfest, you see like the playlist, you're going to see a few characters in there, but nothing of that really matters though. You talk to them, you have a small cutscene, most people probably skip them, and then they're going to do the events, and that's basically it. You fly through the events, it's going to be the whole festival thing on the island, like, I guess it's kind of cool, but then again though, I feel like it probably should go back to its roots in the next game and have a legit storyline to it. That was something I gotta give Need for Speed credit for, which we all do know the game is obviously over, but Need for Speed Unbound did have a story even though it was going to be incredibly cringy, I gotta admit it. I personally enjoyed the Need for Speed Heat story a bit more, but I do like getting connected to the characters and stuff like that, seeing what happens, and kind of seeing like a cool plot that really plays through it and kind of like evolves throughout the entire part of the game. I think that's pretty dope. You're going to meet different characters, get connected to them, maybe have like friendships and all that, see where that stuff goes. Maybe they connect you with other people, you get free cars from them or something, you end up unlocking special upgrades because of someone else that you met, or you get like a special garage and all that. You guys probably see where I'm going. Have like an entire story element to that that really builds into it, instead of basically throwing everything at you into the festival part. So if I was to guess right now, I would probably say a majority of the players would probably want like a legit story like the Crew 1 had, compared to the festival design that Motorfest did end up having, or at least I guess you could say part of it was taken from Forza. I guess we could probably admit that. Now the other thing is though, looking at the Crew 2, if you type this in on Google, the Crew 2 story on that one, it is going to read, the Crew 2 is a racing video game with a non-linear story that follows an unnamed player as they become a famous racer in the United States. that is legitimately it. Like, yeah, the Crew 2 is going to be, I guess you could say, an upgrade to the Crew 1. A lot of things like physics, graphics, and all that stuff. They did add a lot of stuff to the Crew 2 compared to the Crew 1, but I do feel like they kind of went away from these story elements, which I really did end up missing. Like, yeah, the Crew 2 is going to be a lot more interesting than Motorfest is when it comes to it, because you are going to go to the disciplines, there's going to be some type of cutscenes, but none of that's really going to be a crazy thing or really get you connected to it like you were when you were playing through the story of the Crew 1. So that's the biggest thing I am wondering is, do y'all think the next Crew game should go back to its roots, having a massive map again located somewhere around the world, and also on top of that having a real storyline to it? I am curious to know what you all think about this in the comments below. Personally, I gotta admit, if I am going to have a choice, please go back to a different location. Have a big map similar to like the Crew 1 and Crew 2, like the US and all that. Go to Tokyo, go to Germany, have something insane, have a big map in there, all kinds of places to try, different locations and stuff. And on top of that, I would like to have a cool story like the Crew 1 did end up having that really connects you to it and makes you really want to complete it. Again, let me know what y'all think in the comments below.